So I remember there was a crossroads, which was, do I pursue this artwork that I've always been into, or do I go and play football and study engineering, like the dream, right? And then I remember being like, you know what, I'm gonna get into the culture of it, and got into graffiti. Wow. So that was like early though. It was like I was basically a toy, a wannabe. You know what I mean? So you're learning and you're inspired.
We're using code language, guys. Toy is somebody that's kind of.
You want to, you're into it. And I would have these sketchbooks and try.
You like doing it, but you're afraid of the law.
Yeah. I was afraid of getting caught.
Right.
Especially because at that time I didn't have papers.
Right.
So if you get caught,
you're fucked.
You're screwed, right? So I was terrified of that. And then I remember just building sketchbooks and sketchbooks and sketchbooks. And then someone had seen the sketchbook through one of the schools and was like, oh, there's an art program. And then I got into art. It wasn't.
This here is my dear friend Oved Valadez. For anyone who has spent any time in the creative world, especially here in Portland, Oved's kind of the man. Like many of the people that I've introduced you to this far, Oved and his family came to the US in the 90s, right around a time when this country was in the very early stages of a shift in the way brown folks were often perceived. Hard workers, family-oriented, dependable, that's the way many of our parents came to be known. In fact, if you think of the way most of our people are professionally characterized, especially those working in a kitchen, you're going to find that the reputation plays more like a stigma that many of us sons and daughters of those immigrants continue to be measured against. Oved here is one of the many people that continue to break through all that. Yes, still very much a hard worker, family-oriented, and quite dependable. But his true brilliance, however, is found behind the work of his company, Industry, one of the most successful brand consultancies, not just in Portland, but in the entire country. My name is Angel Medina. I am a lover of coffee, mezcal, and anything properly deep fried. In 2017, I quit my daytime job to pursue my passion for coffee. Since then, I've opened 4 cafes and 4 restaurants, including the beloved República. In addition, I've spent the last year writing about culture, community, and food. All so that I can share with you the stories of the people reinventing and reimagining the future of this beautiful city. People who look, speak, and sound like me. These are their stories.
How did you end up in Portland?
I got recruited by a company here in Portland that did industrial design for companies like Intel, Microsoft, Procter & Gamble, Logitech, big brands, like invention and creativity, right? They recruited me to come to Portland, and I was like, I'll just take the free trip. So I was trying to hustle the system. Again, think like an immigrant.
Right.
Turn those obstacles into opportunities. I haven't been in America, in many of the cities. I'm gonna apply to jobs there, so they fly me. Now they have Zoom, poor kids, right? But so they fly me and I get to actually enjoy the cities.
Right.
And then I get flown here. It was a March day and it was sunny and beautiful. And you see the mountains and it was small. And I knew of Nike, I knew of Intel. And then it was like just this little tiny city that you can literally walk in.
From one place to the other.
You know, and it was friendly and it was easy. At that time, it was very different than it is now. But there was an energy to it that drew me.
What year was this?
Like 2006, roughly around there. Yeah. So there's an energy, a thing that was beginning to happen, the brew. It was the rise of farm to table, as you know. It was the rise of the craft movement where people were wearing boots again and leather. I think we're going back to that. But and I liked that. I was like, wow. You know, I came from a very Germany was all about literally organization. Chicago, you had the energy of obviously hip hop that was happening there at that time.
Right.
But at the same time, Chicago. And here, there was something different at that time. It was the heyday of a lot of things. So I accepted the job. They gave me a job offer, and I took it right away without I even took a pay cut, I remember. And I was like, I'll do it because one, I feel that there's an energy that was happening. But again, remember,
this is based out of the city, or were you going out to?
No, this is here. This is in the Pearl. It was on 11th and Flanders. I know there's somewhere else now, but they're on 11th and Flanders, right here, right in the city. And I remember I was like, this is such an easy city. Everyone's friendly. But now I arrive and it's summer. Love it. You know, you going, remember I would drive to the coast. You're like, what the hell? I would drive to wine country at that time, which was a lot smaller. I'd drive from here all the way down to 101, like all the things that I'd never got to experience, right?
Right.
And then here in terms of the city, there's just these little pockets. That's it. The food scene was nothing like it is now. The coffee scene just started blowing up. Ace Group just had started, and you had our good friends at White End. You had a couple little creative agencies, Nike people, Adidas, but out of all these places, no one was from Portland. No one. So I remember sitting at a table where it'd be like 20 of us, and all from Mexico, Germany, right, all over the States, and it was magical, right? And I loved it. But one thing.
A little bit of context here. A lot of people like myself and my dear friend Oved like to use the phrase "think like an immigrant" interchangeably. For example, the hustle, the humility, the staying positive during the hard times, those are all traits that come from thinking like an immigrant. There are also times when we seize opportunities that others wouldn't. Not because they are the best opportunities, but mostly because they are a opportunity, singular. And if your family, like Oved and my own and the many out there, ever had to make the dangerous trek along the Sonoran Desert, encountering terrible things like scorpions, centipedes, collared lizards, diamondback rattlesnakes, ice agents, trust me, you spend your lifetime in this country thinking like an immigrant.
But one thing that started happening is I started missing a couple things. It's like inspiration, like true cultural inspiration, because we were farming out inspiration.
Right.
So then you had cultural inspiration of like, I want to go to a museum. I want to go to a neighborhood. I want to go, and at that time you don't know. There wasn't, I think it was pre-iPhone. iPhone came 2008, right? So like.
Eater wasn't around. There was no Yelp to give you reviews or any of that shit.
Yeah, it was like MapQuest, that's it, if you're lucky. And then you had the Razor phone at that time, right?
That's right.
And that's not that long ago, by the way. So then
that's a scary thing.
Yeah,
it's that
crazy.
The Portland that from 2006 is very different than the Portland I discovered in 2010.
Yeah.
Like at that point, I feel like one of the common things I hear about Portland, there's always somebody who's gonna be like, dude, it was good. Like you just keep saying that, like it was good at one point, but it's so different now. And you hear that like from somebody should have shown up at 2020 and been like, you should have been here 2018.
Yeah, no, but it was the same time there when I was there in 2010 when there's this energy, and then you had some of the raw individuals that are like musicians or creatives that were like, no, this is whack. Like you should have seen Before the Pearl.
Right.
In like the 90s was dope. That was dope, Portland.
That is amazing.
You know what I mean? It was amazing. This was all like dirt and like railroad tracks and warehouses. And now it's like people like you creating stuff. And now, you have people from the 2006s to now the 2010 saying the same shit, and in the future it's going to be the same shit. Like that's the idea of evolution, right? So the one thing I did miss was like, how do you then have like a lot of that cultural immersion? So then what I did was I just traveled. So Portland, I never until 2020 invested in building a community in Portland. I had friends, but outwardly saying, I'm gonna go and build Portland, I never did that until 2020.
Do you feel that maybe, and again, when I explain it to people that moved here post-COVID, or really as recently as last year or now, it's always, especially BIPOC folks that are creatives, that are professionals that come from the industry, trying to explain to them that this energy that exists right now did not exist 2 years ago. It sounds really strange to say. Maybe it did, but it was just in a tiny, small pocket within that circle. Creative would stay where creative is. Food would stay with food. And all these like freelancers doing cool shit would just stay within themselves. Like it wasn't as connected as everybody seems to do. Like us as brown folks, we seem to be connected to the same people in some way. Yeah. And I don't know how that works out.
So I really believe that 2019, 2020, imagine the metaphor of like a bomb hit Portland, and out of the bomb there were several survivors that you're looking around and you're like,
Right.
wait, you were forced to cross-pollinate
Right.
in a good way. I actually think the pandemic eventually we're gonna look back and it's gonna do wonders for that, because you're right, it was very cliquey.
Right.
Designers hang out with designers, creators hang out with creators, food people hang out with food people, coffee people hang out with coffee people.
It is.
And then I feel that now there's a cross-pollination, and what happened is this: what that bomb did, it leveled a lot of the people that were holding the ropes and the strings. I won't say names, but in the
There's a lot of
food
gatekeeping,
industry,
for sure.
in the food industry, in the creative industry, there was a lot of people holding. What that did is allowed individuals like yourself, individuals like my homie Josue, like Bima, like myself, to say, fuck it. I see opportunity in this shit. I'm stepping up.
Right.
And now, because there's nothing, it's time to reshape it. And reshape what we want to see. Tell our own narrative.
Correct.
Think like that immigrant. You know what I mean? Like, that to me is where I start seeing the light of where a lot of things can begin to happen.
Why do you choose to stay in Portland? Because I know that your commitment post-COVID has been like, I need to keep building communities.
Yeah.
Most people would have ran off.
Yeah.
Why
We
did
thought
you choose
about
to
it.
stay?
We thought about it. So I remember, there's 50 people here. We have a sister agency in New York, about 13 people there, and a smaller one in LA. And I remember looking and being like, okay, this idea of work, and this is early days. This is when all the protests were happening. We're downtown, and we try to support as much as we can. And then we're like, wow, there's no end. And I remember when the fire, the crazy smoke.
September.
Remember that shit?
Yeah, September 2020.
September 2020, exactly. I remember my business partner and I, we looked at each other and we're like, do we need to be going through this? Everywhere else has modernized and you can work from wherever.
Right.
Like, we could easily pick up, go to New York. Same thing with my family, easily. They have an East Coast presence there. We could have easily moved wherever, including Mexico.
There's a predictability to that.
Yeah.
To like go to a place that's already busy, that's already dealt with these things, where you're not the pioneer per se.
Exactly. But for us, I think when we look, it's like you look at the roots again, and it's like Portland is grounded by its barriers, its beauty. You can access it. This idea of access is so important. Do you know what I mean? So then how do you open that access and then begin to and again, like you said, yes, help pioneer, but at the same time help connect the dots and shape a city that I want to shape versus going to New York and it's already shaped. You're just going to pick up a building, you're going to think you're shaping something, but you're not really going to have an impact.
Correct.
You know what I mean?
What does that shaping look like for you right now?
To me, it's one, similar to what we're doing, it's connection. Cross-pollinating. Right now, it's that ideal thinking that I was telling you about. Bring the engineer, bring the writer, bring the designer, bring the chef, it's cross-pollination of positivity, creativity, and solutions. I think that's key. That's one. Two, I think building and immersing and bringing, I have the luxury of being able to build teams and hire people and do visas and all that stuff. So I've hired, like industry, it's 10 Mexicanos that I've brought from Mexico that are incredible. Korea, China, England, all over. And to me, I'm like, oh, let's bring that energy here. You know what I mean? Let's bring in a different way of thinking to help immerse all of us.
Yeah, that's quite a model.
And then the last part of it, so that's bringing people. It's how do we begin to foster curiosity and creativity? So that's like where I'm building that whole bottom floor I took over, where Polar is. And I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna mix in locals and incredible artists, creators, directors from around the world, renowned, to cross-pollinate. Mm-hmm. What's gonna happen? If I go with Caldera School, and then I bring in someone like a Josh Vides or Raul Urias, and they put an incredible show, a lecture, and there's a cross-pollination and an output that's left behind.
Right.
Or a famous director, like I want to hero a bunch of this incredible creativity that's happened for my people. There's some incredible women Mexican directors like Flavia Martinez, who I want to bring here and say, do a lecture, inspire these next individuals, create a project, and leave something
I feel
behind.
like they could do a lecture on 4 different topics, from women being in creative to being a creative.
100%.
You know.
Yeah. So it's programming them. That to me. So again, I don't know what obstacles are going to be in front. Cool, but I'm shaping that culture that I want to see. You know what I mean? And then I'm getting inspired by individuals like yourself, individuals like Bima or Kay, who are also shaping what they are trying to see. You know what I mean? And like what I'm starting to see in Chinatown with like youth being like, oh yeah, Chinatown's hood. Right now it's rough.
Yeah.
But you got individuals that are like Wale and Cyrus and I think Natalia walked in here.
Just walked in, yes.
And who are being like, no, this is a canvas.
What do you think is the common thing binding this whole thing together for everybody?
I don't know.
Because I don't know either.
I have no idea. But
I keep asking this question.
There is an energy. I always follow an energy. Like, you know, I can pretend I know and put like, oh, it's the moment. And we've seen this in the past with cities that rise. And we've seen it in the past. But I think if I could put a hypothesis out there, I think a lot of us haven't had the platforms or the voice to do something. So there's that energy and that hunger. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I've always, I work with Fortune 100 companies. We're the brand whisperers. We've always behind the scenes. We're consultants. Ignore the advertising side of it. That's the output. That doesn't matter. The front end strategy, the consulting, working with C-suite, where it's like, how are you going to position your brand? Where are you going to take your brand? That's what we do. So we're really good at being like, all right, cool. Brand like Converse, you're down. How do we restructure the whole thing to get you to come up? Who do you position as a consumer? Who do you create for? What are the stories that we're going to tell? How do we? And one thing in working with brands like Converse, like Lego, like the Nikes of the world, you start analyzing this idea of people. And one theme that has come out is this idea of, I want a voice. In a world of same, I want a voice. I want an identity. I want to say something versus just be part of the herd. And I feel like with the individuals like yourself, like Ian, like Katie, like Bima, like Natalia, I can name hundreds, right? Mm-hmm. We all want that.
Right.
We're all doing it differently. Some louder, some quieter, some underground, but we all want that. That's the one common theme that I've been seeing that I'm excited about, because everyone has a form of talent or a beautiful expression that the city needs.
Last year, and maybe this is a project that had been going on for a while, you were commissioned your company to work on the Travel Portland campaign, right? That was quite an undertaking. And at the time, I felt that, post the murder of George Floyd, mid-pandemic, somebody had to tell that story. Somebody had to share the fact that, hey, this is still Portland. It's got a couple of bruises on. Maybe you could say, or make an argument that it's more than that, but yeah. What did that mean to you, to be the face of that project?
So really interesting with that one. A bit of a misconception. A lot of people think that the city of Portland commissioned us to do that, which is not it. Travel Portland is an organization within the city of Portland that gets funded by all the hotels, by businesses.
It's like a tourism board.
It's a tourism house. And in the past, the stories that were told were like, okay, let's be quirky, or let's do an animation, or let's show this crazy, utopia. Do you know what I mean? To me, it was a pitch. So we pitched against, I think, several agencies. And
you got the RFP.
The heartbeat. And to me, the pitch that we got when we got the brief was like, we're going to show, if this is about the people and the businesses, we're not going to show, what has already been shown. Yes, there's some staples there that we'll make sure we touch, but I want to elevate the new. Because again, my theory was that after that 2020, there's all this rising of energy. We all used our energy to create something new. Do you know what I mean? So if you look at the individuals there, so the undertaking was really fascinating because to me, I'm like, okay, bring in, and at that time I didn't know you, but I'm like, bring in individuals that are here from the community, individuals like Josue, individuals like Bima, and we started painting like, well, what is Portland? Right now, yes, it's having its craziness, but from a tourist point of view, what's gonna be true of Portland moving forward regardless? And it's the people, it's the restaurants, it's the energy, it's the crafted by. So then, rather than everyone else, at that time, the news were all defining what Portland was. Fox News was like, oh, Portland is blah, 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 and it's under
burning
fire.
trash can, right.
It's over there. You have even CNN, you have, I swear I had family in Mexico call me and be like, are you okay? I'm like, motherfucker, you're in Mexico City, are you okay? You know, and I'm like, what is, like the media, and yes, it was dire, but like the media completely exaggerated as everything. So the whole world is telling us what Portland is. So what I wanted to do is like, go to all the people that are shaping Portland, that next chapter, and highlight them. Real people. No one was an actor.
Right.
No one. Even the voice. I mean, you were in it, several business, and I was like blanket. Everyone who's like, let's try to get Tinker Hatfield was in there, my homie Wax, like people that were all.
It was iconic.
Yeah.
Diego Valeri was in it.
Yeah. So we're
Dame
just like, we're like, yeah, Dame, like, we're like, okay, there's still people here. And these people, and in many ways, it's that pressure of like, let's put a mirror and see what happens. And look at since then, you have 3 new restaurants. Bima's thing is crazy.
Amazing.
Like, so now all of a sudden, it created the energy, but it was true. Like my job and the brief wasn't go around and tell people how you're gonna fix Portland. I want that brief from the city of Portland. I'll go on record saying, city of Portland, give me that brief of how to like come up with clever, innovative ideas from a houseless point of view. That's a different brief. My brief was like, hey, how do we make sure that we could still get tourists here? That was my brief, heads and beds. So to me, I could have been like, oh, I'm gonna do like this beautiful, like just show these.
A couple of drone shots, a couple of.
I'm like, no, let's put faces.
Right.
These are the people that are shaping it, and these are people that are gonna shape it. So instead of everyone telling us what Portland is, I said, no, this is Portland. It's all these people. Ignore the places. This is Portland. You know? And what we did, which was dope, was we took a manifesto that was co-written with a lot of people that are from Portland, and we put that manifesto out in the New York Times.
I saw that.
I purposely pissed people off because you have to create tension. It was on the cover of Fox News. That is old school marketing. Piss people off so they're paying attention.
Right.
When you drop the spot that is real people are paying attention. Media was low. I mean, it's a travel agency here.
Right.
It's not one of my Converse or Nike campaigns where it's like media. Like you have to do whatever you can to grab that attention. And then what we did is we actually then hero individual stories, and then we targeted individuals not from Portland, LA, the West Coast, you know, to really get people to come here, you know, as much as we could. And we're still shaping that story. Now right now we're shaping the story to come back. I almost want to tell, this is why I had